Well, some nice weather around your capital city today and much more comfortable conditions, but we are still tracking Harvey, which started as a Category 4 hurricane. It has now been downgraded to a tropical storm. Chief Meteorologist Diminis Brown will have more about the impact of Harvey in Texas coming up in your First Alert forecast. Plus, the search is still on today for a former Columbia firefighter after a deadly boat crash on Lake Murray. We'll tell you what we know coming up. And many still picking up the pieces this morning after Hurricane Harvey. The aftermath of what Mother Nature left behind is just ahead. Your news at 10 starts right now.
Live, local, now. This is WIS News 10.
Good Sunday morning, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Sam Blyweiss. Well, cooler weather in your forecast for today around the Midlands, but we are still keeping an eye on the tropics, specifically on Hurricane Harvey. Chief Meteorologist Diminis Brown is in the Weather Center tracking the latest on what is now Tropical Storm Harvey. And, just because it is downgraded, Diminis, still so many issues there in Texas.
Hey, Sam, yeah, they're going to be talking about this for several days over the course of this week because this storm is really not moving a whole lot. Look at the movement. South-southeast at 1 miles an hour with sustained winds at 45 miles an hour. And look at the turn here. You see this right end of the storm. Yeah, that's where all the showers and storms are at this point. And you'll notice these bands of heavier showers and storms stretching into areas like Beaumont, Texas, areas near Lake Charles, Louisiana as well. And it starts to wrap around there. We'll continue seeing a lot of heavy rainfall, and that's going to cause more and more flooding. Houston really under the gun with a lot of that flooding as we speak. Here's the latest forecast track for the National Hurricane Center, and you'll notice as we go into Monday, also through Tuesday, into our Wednesday, Thursday, even into Friday, the storm sits right on top of Texas, but you see the cone of uncertainty stretching into Oklahoma, Arkansas, Louisiana, and even portions of Mississippi. A lot of that moisture will likely stay in the Midwest and also in the deep South. However, we'll have our own threat, and we'll talk about that in just a second. Let me show you what's happening with the forecast models, pretty consistent with keeping the center of the storm at least over areas in the deep South and the Midwest. Then closer to home, we have a stationary front just to our south, and we have a developing area of low pressure that's over Florida. It might move offshore later tonight, early tomorrow, and then merge with this front. But before it does so, it might have a chance of developing into a named system. It's going to happen quickly, though, if it does. Some of the forecast models are now trying to push this system closer to our coast going into the next couple of days, then farther out to sea as well. If it does develop, its name would most likely be Irma. But again, it's going to have a short time to do so before it merges with that front. So we'll talk more about that in just a second. Here at home, pleasant today, temperatures around 88 degrees. We are tracking some showers and talking about what could happen in the tropics closer to home in your full first forecast all coming up.
All right, Diminis, thank you. And as Diminis was saying, this is one of the strongest storms to hit the state of Texas in half a century. Officials say at least 2 people at this point that they know have died from Harvey after it made landfall. Now, Hurricane Harvey slammed the Texas coast as a Category 4 hurricane on Friday night, but it was downgraded to a Category 1 yesterday and since has been downgraded to a tropical storm. Now, it hit the small city of Rockport head on, leaving at least 12 people injured. Despite the winds dying down, that heavy rainfall remains the biggest threat.
In various key regions, ranging from Corpus Christi to the Houston area, perhaps as much as between 20 and 30 more inches of rain could be coming down. That is coming down on already saturated ground and already filled up waterways, whether they be creeks, bayous, or rivers. And so there is the potential for very dramatic flooding.
Now, Rockport city leaders say that their town has been turned into a debris field. If you've seen these images, they are absolutely devastating. Damage there to the schools, the library, and other public buildings. Well, the governor of Texas has now declared state of emergency in 50 counties. Hurricane Harvey, now Tropical Storm Harvey, but officials are still warning about the rain and the catastrophic flooding. Sarah Dolph has the story.
This morning, little relief.
10 years of my life gone.
For Texas communities hit hard by Harvey.
We made it.
The storm spinning slowly inland, bringing heavy rains and leaving heartbreak.
The devastation that I see today is disheartening. It hurts, but we are resilient. We will clean it up, rebuild, and be perfect again.
In Rockport, Texas, where an estimated 40% of residents opted not to evacuate, widespread devastation and at least 1 death. A library and church destroyed in the town of Fulton.
It's a beautiful thing for people to come together and forget everything that's bad and come together as a strong community and help.
Stories of heroism emerging. Coast Guard helicopters rescuing 15 people aboard vessels in distress.
First responders are absolutely putting their lives on the line.
As cleanup begins.
Now in Houston alone, the south side of the city there saw 6 inches of rain every hour overnight. We'll continue to follow Harvey, but back here at home, the search for a missing boater on Lake Murray is still ongoing today. Crews are searching at this very moment this morning after a child was found alone on a boat Friday evening. The 4-year-old girl said that her dad was on the boat, and that was what prompted a search and rescue Friday evening. So far at this point, nothing has turned up, but we are learning more about the victim who authorities are looking for. Our Caroline Patrikas reports.
Saturday, search efforts were suspended on Lake Murray after an unsuccessful recovery of a boater who went missing Friday evening. They're searching for 35-year-old Durham Delara, who's a former Columbia firefighter, according to the department, and he's also a father. Officials say he was with his daughter Friday evening when he went missing. It's believed that he went overboard. Neighbors who live in the Panorama neighborhood reportedly pulled the 4-year-old girl to shore safely and unharmed after she was seen floating on the boat alone. The little girl was not injured, and neighbors say that she is now safe with her mother. DNR says the search is widespread Saturday, covering several miles on Lake Murray. Officials say they'll pick back up for a third day of searching Sunday morning. In Lexington, Caroline Patrikas, WIS News 10.
Another developing story we are following. 2 South Carolina power customers are suing the board of Santee Cooper, accusing the utility company of unconstitutionally raising rates to pay for that failed nuclear project in Fairfield County. Now, according to the AP, the lawsuit was filed in Berkeley County, where Santee Cooper is located. Santee Cooper and SCE&G decided late last month to abandon the VC Summer nuclear plant in Fairfield County after both utilities spent nearly $10 billion on the project. The abandonment left thousands without a job. Utility customers had already spent about $2 billion on that project through rate hikes. Well, Kershaw County officials say one person was killed in an ATV accident while hunting. Officials say a group of people were hunting on Red Bank Farm when 72-year-old Alan Wooten Sr. was riding a 4-wheeler down a dirt road. Wooten's ATV hit a tree lying across the road and flipped, throwing him off the 4-wheeler. Officials say that happened around 9 o'clock Saturday morning. Wooten was pronounced dead there on the scene. New details in connection with a train derailment that happened in Kershaw County earlier this month. CSX police are now offering a $25,000 reward for information leading to the arrest and conviction of the person who caused the train to derail. Now, if you remember, that happened on Highway 601 in Lugoff back on August 5th. Officials tell us that a yellow bulldozer was placed on the tracks, which caused that collision. If you have any information, you're asked to call Crime Stoppers at 1-888-CRIME-SC. A cheerleading coach has been fired by Denver Public Schools in the midst of a controversy involving his tactics for teaching cheerleaders how to do splits. A video showing a cheerleader screaming in pain while forced into a split position has gone viral. And as Emily Allen reports, the district superintendent says serious mistakes have been made by school leaders. We want to warn you, this video you see behind me, it may be hard to watch.
What happened was wrong. There were serious mistakes made.
Tonight, even a school district admits it's still learning.
That's partly why I'm here tonight, to recognize there were serious mistakes made.
Superintendent Tom Boasberg says this horror can't happen again.
This has been an extraordinarily painful incident.
East High School leaders, Coach Ozell Williams, a cheerleader, and her parents all met in June to discuss what happened in this video, the forced splits. But the school sided with the coach, and Williams kept his job.
We were wrong not to have taken certain actions in June, and we are doing everything in our power to ensure the safety and well-being of every one of our students.
But several employees remain on leave, including East High School's principal and the assistant principal, who's also the athletic director. And an investigation will decide if they'll come back.
An independent investigation of exactly who knew what, when.
That same investigation will determine how to fix lines of communication so these incidents don't slip through the cracks.
Clearly, in this instance, there was insufficient oversight of what happened. There was insufficient follow-through to what happened, and that needs to change.
The school district plans to make the results of that investigation public so everyone can study what happened and learn from it.
Now, the district says it is hiring an outside attorney to see who else may be at fault for letting this happen. Well, happening right now, superheroes of all shapes and sizes are in the capital city for Soda City Comic-Con. Hundreds right now inside the Columbia Metropolitan Convention Center meeting their favorite superheroes. Soda City Comic-Con is hosting more than 50 retail vendors selling everything from popular comics, toys, and collectible items. And if you missed it yesterday, today is your last chance to see it. It'll last from 10 a.m. until 4 p.m. Well, the remains of Harvey still amongst us and still causing problems. Just because the storm has been downgraded, it doesn't mean that it's over by any means. Deminis Brown will explain why in just 2 minutes.
So good to see you on this Sunday morning. I'm in for Vaughn Gaskin. She has the day off, and here's what's happening with Harvey. Yes, it's a tropical storm, but let me tell you, whether it's a hurricane or tropical storm, this storm is causing quite a bit of rainfall over portions of Texas, even Louisiana. And check out some of these bands off of the Gulf of Mexico with shower storms, and it's not going anywhere anytime soon. So we know Houston's already flooding. Areas eastward are already flooding at this point, and this will be a concern over the next couple of days as well. If you have any interest, any family members, hopefully they're doing okay and you're checking on them as well. I know they've had some power outages in several areas in Houston. But check out the slow movement of this storm. May even actually move offshore just ever so slightly over the next couple of days and then go back inland, really not moving a whole lot. And so that's going to cause quite a bit of concern there. Let's talk about what's happening a little closer to home, though. We're still watching this developing area of low pressure over Florida. It has a 40% chance of developing into a named system over the next 2 days here, likely moving offshore later tonight, early tomorrow, then merging with this front here, stationary just to our south. Here's the Palmetto State. You can tell there's a little circulation out there, but as it merges with this front, well, then it'll start riding along the front, then moving to the northeast. So it has a short window of time in order to develop. Now, right now, we're already starting to see a little shower activity over areas here in the low country near Beaufort, just south of Charleston. Charleston will likely see a few more little showers trying to move through. So if you're headed towards the coast today and even for tomorrow, just keep in mind that showers, even some thunderstorms will be possible. Take a look at some of the forecast models here. This is called Invest 92L right now. And it continues to keep the center of the storm, if it develops, kind of moving a little closer to the coast here, keeping it away from the Midlands, but close enough that we'll likely see some clouds and some showers from it into tomorrow, maybe into Tuesday as it moves to the northeast. You'll see Myrtle Beach right there, and then moving to the north. And so a little bit earlier, past couple of days, it had most of the forecast models offshore. Now they're just starting to push it in just a little bit closer. I don't have an alert day in store just yet. I want to look at some of the latest models later on this afternoon when I'm here at 6 o'clock, and then I'll see if I'm going to at least call for an alert day early next week. But here's what's happening early this week. Here's a look at the water temperatures. They are fairly warm, so we could see maybe some potential development, but it will have to happen quickly. Here's the forecast. It's trying to get a little circulation there as we go into tomorrow evening, trying to push some showers even to areas in the Midlands, but you'll notice a few more showers and storms near Hilton Head, near Charleston and Myrtle Beach as we go through tomorrow evening. This particular model wants to keep it riding along the coast, all right? So not necessarily making a landfall. Again, it's not named yet, but then keeping it to the north and east towards Wilmington, North Carolina by Tuesday morning, and then farther out to sea riding along that front. So we'll have to continue watching that very closely. Here's what to expect at this point. It could develop, but not expecting it to linger right now as we see it like Harvey's doing over the deep south in Texas. Big concerns are along the coast. If you're going to head to the coast, high surf, rip currents, windy conditions, but here at home, clouds and a few showers and storms, they will be possible. You'll see the rain chances on the 7-day forecast here. I'm going to call them at 30% right now. Just in case some of those showers start to push in, just depending on the movement of that developing tropical entity. That's what I'll call it right now, developing tropical storm that could happen. It could be named Irma. Look what happens for the rest of the week, though. Temperatures will start that slow rise into the middle and upper 80s, but tomorrow we're calling for low 80s with mostly cloudy skies.
Well, as what was then Hurricane Harvey bore down on the Gulf Coast of Texas overnight, people who stayed behind called 911. pleading for help. The sheriff of Aransas County says people were hysterical, but it was too dangerous to go out. Emergency services were at capacity. They actually asked people to shelter in place and not to call 911 unless they were in imminent danger.
We took calls in the middle of the night that we weren't able to respond to, and that's a tough deal in this profession to have hysterical people on the phone pleading for help and saying, "I'm sorry, but we can't." You know, the risk outweighs our expectation of being able to do anything about it. But
now, the sheriff's office said people called about roofs being ripped off of homes, walls crumbling on people. The local sheriff there says a majority of the town's 10,000 people decided to ride out the storm at home. Now, the county judge there confirmed one death specifically there from the storm, and that victim died in a house fire. Officials say a Houston woman, this is the second death that we know of, has died as a result of Tropical Storm Harvey. The woman drowned last night after she drove her vehicle into high water in southwest Houston. Officials say the woman drowned after she tried to get out of her vehicle and the high water took her under. The police department is investigating that incident and the woman's name has not yet been released. Well, just ahead, they say a dog is a man or a woman's best friend. Just ahead, we will introduce you to one four-legged friend that is brightening up a few kids' days that are battling some health issues. That's coming up.